So, ladies and gentlemen, it appears we have a lot to discuss. It appears we have a lot to talk about. And when you see me rocking this jersey, this is a Zambia national team jersey. Just know we are talking Africa. We are talking Africa Cup of Nations, and we are talking about CAF's decision to award the Africa Cup of Nations trophy 2026 from Senegal to Morocco. So hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, Football with Priscilla. I am Priscilla, obviously. So hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. And ladies and gentlemen, today we are talking about the decision that has rocked the African continent, dare I say, the world at large. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm referring to CAF's decision to award the Africa Cup of Nations 2026 trophy from Senegal, okay? Taking away from Senegal and giving it to Morocco. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the most contentious issue in the world of football. But before we get into the video for today, make sure you share, like, and subscribe. Make sure you share, like, and subscribe, and do turn your notifications on, ladies and gentlemen, to know when next I post a video. Okay, so let's get into the video for today. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I had no idea that this decision had been made. I just saw people asking me, Priscilla, what do you think about this? What do you? And I'm like, wait, what? So apparently, ladies and gentlemen, news broke that the CAF Appeal Board had made a decision with regards to the Africa Cup of Nations. And in their decision, it was stated that Senegal were no longer the Africa Cup of Nations winners, but instead the trophy would be given to Morocco. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is a decision that shook the African continent. This is a decision that shook the footballing world at large. Dare I say, the whole entire world. So I just want us to talk about this decision, and we're gonna go step by step and break down and understand what the heck is actually going on. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's go back to where it all started. And the story starts in the 96th minute of the Africa Cup of Nations final. Yes, the final between Morocco and Senegal. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in the 96th minute of the Africa Cup of Nations game, Morocco was awarded a penalty. A VAR check was made and the referee made a decision, and Morocco was awarded a penalty. Bear in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that leading up until this game, there were a lot of issues with regards to this whole tournament. People were saying that Morocco was giving preferential treatment and taking into consideration the fact that Morocco was the host nation. Okay, so leading up until this game, there were a lot of issues behind closed doors. People were saying Morocco was being favored. People were saying the whole tournament was just for Morocco to win, right? It was made for Morocco to win. All the decisions were going Morocco's way. Now, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, 96th minute of the final, Morocco is awarded a penalty. And the entire Senegalese team lost it. The Senegalese coach absolutely lost it. The fans lost it. Us, the viewers, lost it. The whole world lost it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, during that whole mess, they were arguing as to whether it was a penalty. The referee stood on his decision and said, hey, it's actually a penalty. Well, the Senegalese coach said, we're not going to stand for this, and told his team to walk off the pitch. And so they did, except one player, Sadio Mane. Now, throughout that whole ruckus, we saw that Sadio Mane went back into the dressing room, talked to his teammates, and talked them into coming back onto the pitch. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as you would have it, the decision still stood. And Diaz, the Moroccan player, was given to shoot the penalty. Unfortunately for Diaz, maybe it was a psychological thing, I don't know, he missed the penalty. And the game went on. 94th minute, ladies and gentlemen, of extra time, or 4th minute of the extra time, well, we got a goal for Senegal, and this was by a player called Gay. Okay, Guehi, Gay, however you want to pronounce it. Pop Guehi Gay. Okay, so Pop Gay gave Senegal a goal, and the game ended in a 1-0 win for Senegal. And Senegal were awarded, guys, as the Africa Cup of Nations 2025-2026 champions. So they were the new kings of Africa. Well, ladies and gentlemen, after that whole ruckus, the internet was obviously in an uproar, divided opinions and views about good sportsmanship, integrity, and the like. People were praising Sadio Mane and everything. Well, guys, people forgot about it and we continued on with our lives. Also, we thought. So the whole world moved on except Morocco. Now, apparently, ladies and gentlemen, the Moroccan Football Federation, or as they are called, the Fédération Royale Marocaine de Football, FRMF, as in hereinafter will be called, okay? That's a very long name, so I'll just be going with FRMF, which is the Fédération Royale Marocaine de Football. They went to CAF and they felt they were hard done by. They said, hey, that's not good sportsmanship that Senegal had portrayed. They walked off the pitch because they were not happy with the referee's decision. What is CAF going to do about this? Because we don't think that is how football should be played. Well, whilst the world, ladies and gentlemen, was focusing on Manchester United getting third, Arsenal potentially winning the league, the FRMF, or the Moroccan Federation, appealed the trophy, appealed against the AFCON win by Senegal. And so, ladies and gentlemen, on the 17th of March, well, the CAF Appeal Board made their decision, and this was the announcement that was made. And so, I quote the article. End quote. The CAF Appeal Board decide that in application of Article 84 of the regulations of the CAF Africa Cup of Nations, in brackets AFCON, the Senegal national team is declared to have forfeited the final match of the Total Energies CAF Africa Cup of Nations, in brackets AFCON, Morocco 2025, in brackets the match, with the result of the match recorded as 3-0 in favor of the Fédération Royale Marocaine de Football, FRMF. To repeat, the CAF Appeal Board decide that in application of Article 84 of the regulation of the CAF Africa Cup of Nations, in brackets AFCON, the Senegal national team is declared to have forfeited the final of the Total Energies CAF Africa Cup of Nations, in brackets AFCON, Moroccan 2025, in brackets the match, with the result of the match recorded as 3-0 in favor of the Fédération Royale Marocaine de Football, FRMF. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the article that dropped. That is the article that absolutely shook the entire African continent, the entire world, okay? Shook the football world. So, to paraphrase, ladies and gentlemen, literally, okay, the CAF Appeal Board decided that, hey, Senegal, you are actually not the winners of the Africa Cup of Nations 2026. It is Morocco. And we are awarding Morocco the trophy. And we're going to give them a 3-0 score line. Why 3-0? I don't know. Why couldn't it be 1-0? Okay, why couldn't it be 2? Must it be 3? So, ladies and gentlemen, according to the CAF Appeal Board, the actual winners of the Africa Cup of Nations 2026 is not Senegal, but hereinafter, until this decision is changed, is Morocco. Okay? Okay. So I took interest and I wanted to read further on the ruling. So there's another article that I fell on which had the ruling, which was quite long, but I picked on what was actually important. So, end quote, okay, of that article. On appeal by the FRMF, okay, regarding the application of Articles 82 and 84 of the regulations of the CAF AFCON, the CAF Appeal Board made the following ruling, okay? So, to repeat, on appeal by the FRMF, regarding the application of Articles 82 and 84 of the regulation of the CAF AFCON, the CAF Appeal Board made the following rulings. 1. The appeal made by the FRMF is declared admissible in form and the appeal upheld. Okay? The appeal made by the FRMF is declared admissible in form and the appeal upheld. 2. The CAF disciplinary board decision is set aside. 2. The CAF disciplinary board decision is set aside. 3. The CAF appeal board further finds that the conduct of the Senegal team falls within the scope of Articles 82 and 84 of the regulations of the AFCON, okay, Africa Cup of Nations, okay. The CAF Appeal Board further finds that the conduct of the Senegal team falls within the scope of Articles 82 and 84 of the regulations of the Africa Cup of Nations. Okay, that's 4. Yes, that's 4. Oh, that's 3 actually. 3. 4. The protest lodged by the Federation Royal Moroccan de Football (FRMF) is upheld. Okay, that's the 4th point with regards to the ruling. The 4th point is that the protest lodged by the Federation Royal Moroccan de Football is upheld. 5. It is declared that the Federation Senegalese de Football (FSF), okay, through the conduct of its team, infringed Articles 82 of the regulations of the Africa Cup of Nations. I repeat. 5. It is declared that the Federation Senegalese de Football (FSF), through the conduct of its team, infringed Article 82 of the regulations of the Africa Cup of Nations. 6. In application of Article 84 of the regulations of the Africa Cup of Nations, the Senegal team is declared to have forfeited the match, with the result recorded as 3-0 in favor of the FRMF. Okay, to repeat, in application of Articles 84 of the regulations of the Africa Cup of Nations, the Senegal team is declared to have forfeited the match, with the result recorded as a 3-0 in favor of the Federation Royal Moroccan de Football (FRMF). And then all other motions or prayers for relief are dismissed. Okay, all other motions and prayers for relief are dismissed. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I have somewhat, okay, of a legal background. Okay, so I understand rulings, I understand appeals, I understand upheld, I understand dismissed. Okay, so today's video, we'll be looking at this decision from a legal perspective, and then we'll look at it from the fan, the real me perspective. So ladies and gentlemen, obviously now we're looking at Articles 82 and Articles 84, and people are like, what? Okay, what? There's even regulations, there are even rules. Yes, there are regulations and there are rules. And apparently, Senegal had broken the rules, the regulations and the rules of the CAF, okay, Federation, right? Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, I went further to read what Article 82 and Article 84 are all about, because this is where the contentious issues, this is where the matter is all about. This is what the matter is all about. This is where the discourse is all about. And this is where the decision hinges on Articles 82 and 84. So this is what Article 82 states, in quote. And this is what I found on Facebook, by the way. Because I tried to look for it all over the internet. I looked for the regulations. I tried and I couldn't find them. But this is what I could find. So this is what Article 82 states, in quote. If for any reason whatsoever a team withdraws the competition or does not report for a match or refuses to play or leaves the ground before the regular end of the match without the authorization of the referee, it shall be considered loser and shall be eliminated for good from the current competition. The same shall apply for teams previously disqualified by the decision of CAF. To repeat, Article 82, end quote. If for any reason whatsoever a team withdraws from the competition or does not report for a match or refuses to play or leaves the ground before the regular end of the match without the authorization of the referee, it shall be considered loser and shall be eliminated for good from the competition. Okay, the same shall apply for teams previously disqualified by decision of CAF. So I highlighted refuses to play or leaves the ground before the match. And so, ladies and gentlemen, you then ask, what does it mean to leave the ground? Okay, because we're supposed to understand. If I had the whole article, I would have understood what leaving the ground meant. But what does it mean? Does leaving the ground mean the whole team leaves the ground? Okay, because technically leaving the ground, which one is the ground? Is it just the pitch, the green part there? Does it include the dressing room? Because they didn't leave the ground. Because like for us in Zambia, the ground is the whole thing, the whole football pitch, right? Is the dressing room a part of the ground? Is the dressing room apart from the ground? Is leaving the ground getting onto your team bus and going away? Is leaving the ground leaving the green part, or sitting with the fans? Is that leaving the ground? What's the definition of leaving the ground? Further, okay, does it mean that what does it mean by the team? Because is it the whole entire team that has to leave the ground? What happens if one player is left on the ground then? Does that mean the whole team has not then left? Because Sadio Mane remained on the pitch. So does that mean they left? Because one more player for Senegal remained on the ground, remained on the pitch. Okay? So technically, if we're going to say the whole team has to leave, then Sadio Mane remains, then the whole team hasn't left. So there's that dynamic, there's that technicality. Unfortunately, I can't see the regulations to read clearly, to see the exceptions and the definitions of what leaving the ground means, of what the whole entire team means. But based on this, you already have a loophole, because people are going to ask questions. Sadio Mane is still on the pitch. What do you mean we all left? We did. Mane remained. What do you mean we left the ground? We were in the dressing room. What is the ground? Is the ground just the green area there, or is the ground the whole entire stadium? Right? Define. Maybe it's defined and I didn't see that. So for me, it gave me a lot of questions. Furthermore, ladies and gentlemen, let's read Article 84. So this is what Article 84 states, in quote. The team which contravenes the provisions of Articles 82 and 83 shall be eliminated for good from the competition. This team will lose its match by 3-0 unless the opponent has scored a more advantageous result at the time when the match was interrupted. In this case, that score will be maintained. The organizing committee may adopt further measures. So for me, I understood this as this, okay? If, for example, Morocco, let's say, maybe had scored 4-0 or something, and then Senegal walked out and left, then they would have maintained with Morocco winning 4-0. But since the game ended in 1-0, they gave the score 3-0 to Morocco, right? So that's what I understood as Article 84, but I'm going to repeat it. So Article 84 states, unquote, the team which contravenes the provisions of Article 82 and 83 shall be eliminated for good from the competition. Okay, this team will lose its match by 3-0 unless the opponent has scored a more advantageous result at the time when the match was interrupted. In this case, the score will be maintained. The organizing committee may adopt the further measures. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we've read the articles and we understand the decision that was made. So essentially the CAF appeal board made decision based on those two articles, which, like I said, for me, technicalities, unfortunately I don't have the whole document, so I don't know, like, there's still gaps in my head, there's still so many questions coming from a legalistic mind. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I know the question that most people are asking is, can Senegal appeal? Apparently, there have been a lot of back and forths on the internet as to whether this is the final decision by CAF, and so it can't go any further. So apparently, ladies and gentlemen, yes, Senegal can appeal. So Senegal can appeal to the Court of Arbitration for Sports in Switzerland. Senegal, right? The Senegal football body of Senegal, okay, can appeal to the Court of Arbitration of Sports in Switzerland. So apparently, the decision that will be made by the Court of Arbitration for Sports in Switzerland will be final and binding, okay? Final and binding means you can't appeal any further. That's the last court of appeal. All right, that's the last court of appeal. You can't go any further. Whatever that court says is law. So if the Court of Arbitration for Sports says, hey, Morocco actually Morocco actually won that game and Senegal forfeited the game by leaving the ground, then that's the final decision. And in history, it will be changed from Senegal being the champions of Africa to Morocco being the champions of Africa. So ladies and gentlemen, I thought, let's break it down, let's read, let's understand where all this is coming from before I can give my opinion. So here's my opinion. Now guys, I wanted to give my opinion from two places. From the fan, that is Priscilla, that is me, and then also from the legal mind and the legal background that I have. So here goes. Here's from the legal background that I have. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody, right? And by body I mean every footballing body, whether it's at your workplace, whether it's a country, whether it's whatever association, whatever group, whatever committees you have, everybody has a rule, has its rules and has its regulations. And once you break those rules and once you break those regulations, you are bound to be fined and you are bound to be penalized. Now, so guys, from a layman, and from layman I say from a person who doesn't understand the legal perspective, or from a person who doesn't understand how the law works, it's easy to say, hey, CAF was wrong. CAF shouldn't have made this decision. CAF this, CAF that. But when you're looking at it from a legal perspective, CAF has every right, the CAF appeal body have every right to make this decision, because they're not making this decision. It's not like the CAF, one of the CAF members or the judge from the CAF body decided, oh, let me just change and make a decision and make Morocco win. No, they are also regulated by the rules that they are made. Unfortunately, the way the law works, there are decisions that are made, right? And if these decisions go against you, well, it's sad, but the laws have already been made. So if the law is that if you get a banana without asking, you're going to be taken into prison for 60 years, and then you get a banana without asking, well, ladies and gentlemen, you will be put into prison for 60 years. This is good for people who are not on this receiving end. Okay, that's one thing I've noticed about the law. It's only bad when you are on the receiving end. If you're on the other end, it doesn't look bad. So if a case is brought to me and they told me someone stole a banana, okay, I'm going to look at the law that talks about stealing bananas. And if the law says, oh, it's 60 years, guys, it's 60 years. That's what the law says. And that's the same with the CAF body, okay? The CAF appeal body. They looked at what the CAF regulations had said, and they had said if someone goes off the ground, if someone does this, if someone does that, this is how you're going to look at the decision. This is the decision that essentially you are supposed to make. So these people did not wake up and just make that decision because, oh, they are corrupt, because, oh, they were being bought. An appeal was made, and anyone can make an appeal. Just like Senegal can make an appeal, Morocco can make an appeal. Morocco made an appeal just like anybody can make an appeal. They looked at the case, they looked at the rules that they had, and unfortunately for Senegal, the rules were favoring Morocco, at least according to the appeal body. And that's how the law works. If you're on the receiving end, it is horrible. Okay, it is absolutely horrible. How can we change that law? Well, I'm pretty sure they have conventions, they have AGMs where they go, they look at particular laws and they're like, okay, this law is not good, let's change it. But when it is passed as law, there is nothing anybody else can do about it. It is law. Law was never meant to be fair. Unfortunately, it was never meant to be fair. If you're on the receiving end, it will always be unfair to you. Okay, so for me, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not really from my legal mind, I'm seeing where the CAF appeal body came from. They were just applying the law that already exists. I think the shock factor is because people didn't know that this law existed. Now people understand that this law existed, and maybe they'll think twice with doing a lot of things. But before then, people didn't understand, and that's the reaction that we're getting. But I don't judge them, I don't condemn them, because I understand they are doing their job, which is they are looking at the law and they are applying it as the law says it should be applied. Okay, so that's my opinion from the legalistic point of view. Now, ladies and gentlemen, from a fan, because let me just come back and be a fan. Okay, I get it. I know this is an unpopular opinion. I think, and I said in my previous video, if you followed my YouTube channel, guys, you understand. If you followed me on YouTube and TikTok, I talked about the Africa Cup of Nations leading up until the final. I gave my final remarks and I said it was bad sportsmanship by Senegal. For me personally, as a fan, I've watched so many games over the course of my life. Games where the referee, you can clearly see the referee is biased against you. And both teams have finished the game. Games where VAR is clearly working against you, but both teams have finished the game. I have never, in my whole entire life, seen a team walk off the pitch, ever. That game, the final, was the only game in my whole entire life of watching soccer, football, that I saw a team walk out, and it was shocking for me. And for me, like I said, it was bad sportsmanship. You don't do that. Guys, you just don't do that. You just don't walk out like that. Okay, so for me, I stood on the fact that I didn't think it was right for Senegal to walk out, regardless of what was happening, right? It wasn't right for them to walk out. So for me, I understand where Morocco was coming from. I also get where Senegal was coming from, walking out, the frustration. They had this whole psyche that the Morocco is being favored. This tournament has been organized for Morocco to win, so they just walked out. I get that. So for me, I get where Morocco came from. That was bad sportsmanship. However, this is my thing with CAF. All right, I know and understand this procedure. When an appeal is made, you listen to both sides, submissions are made, arguments are made, and a decision is made. For me, I think when that whole thing transpired that day, that game should have not continued. If CAF knew that these rules and regulations exist, the referee should have stopped that game the minute Senegal walked out. The referee should have blown the whistle and told them, hey guys, we're giving you 5 minutes to come back on the pitch. If you guys don't come back on the pitch, we're going to say that you forfeited this game and Morocco win. But CAF let it play out. They let Senegal go. They let Senegal come. They let the whole game finish. Let's just say they enjoyed the drama, to be honest. Okay? So they let everything. People's hearts already settled. I'm sure some Moroccan fans moved on. Right? So I feel like this decision has come in a little bit late. I understand procedure, I understand time, but it should have been stopped there and then. They should have said, guys, the rules are this and this and that. You're not back in 5 minutes. The game is forfeited. We give it to Morocco. Just on that very day. By the time we're reaching March, people would have been like, oh, Morocco won because Senegal forfeited. But they waited. Okay? Senegal lifted the trophy. Sadio Mane was the superhero. Like, they waited a little bit too long for me. You knew these were the rules. Why didn't you stop everything? Why didn't you stop the game when the events were transpiring at that time? What they should have made this decision. CAF shouldn't have waited for Morocco to appeal. CAF should have put their foot down that very day because the rules already exist. So why didn't CAF do that? Like, that's where the confusion is. And that's why most people are upset, because look at how CAF is making us look out to the world. How is FIFA looking at us? Now, FIFA is just like, oh my God, right? We already fight for the Africa Cup of Nations. We're already upset that the Africa Cup of Nations is going on while every other game is going on. Premier League, La Liga, Bundesliga. Like, it's split. And so we don't have the attention that we deserve, right? We're already fighting for that, right? And here comes CAF, who have rules, who knows how things are supposed to go, and they are failing to put their foot down at the instance of whatever contentious matter is happening. And then they're waiting for time. And just generally, I feel like this is a bad reflection on CAF, because they waited for so long, and it's a bad reflection on African football that we've been fighting and saying is amazing, it's quality football. Now the next time Jamie Garaga comes out and says, hey, African football is not quality football, African football is not even good football, how are we going to defend ourselves? We can't, right? What are we going to say? Because the body that's supposed to be in charge of us has embarrassed us. So it's absolutely crazy, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, so I just wanted to give my thoughts with regards to this whole announcement, this whole decision by CAF, because a lot of people were asking me, and I thought, hey, let me sit down, let me understand the process, let me understand the procedure, let me read the articles, and let me give my opinion based on the legalistic view and also from a fan's perspective. So obviously we've seen big names like Samuel Eto'o coming out to condemn CAF's decision. There are more people that are coming out to condemn CAF's decision. I understand why people are saying what they're saying. It's all just a mess. And at the end of the day, it just reflects horribly and poorly on African football. So yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, that's all I had for you guys today. Let me know in the comment section below what are your thoughts with regards to this whole announcement, with regards to CAF deciding that actually Morocco are the real winners of the 2025-2026 Africa Cup of Nations, winning by a 3-0 aggregate. I would love to hear all your thoughts. So that's all I had for you guys today. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Make sure you share, like, and subscribe. Make sure you share, like, and subscribe, and do turn your notifications on, ladies and gentlemen, to know when next I post a video. Wow, it's very interesting actually, having a break from Premier League and all these others just for this quick Africa Cup of Nations video. But anyway, let me know your thoughts, guys. Bye.